Yo, everybody. Welcome to Off Panel, a weekly interview podcast about all things comics brought to you by Sketch.com. I'm your host, David Harper, and this week's guest is the most frequent one in the history of the podcast who is somehow making his first appearance of 2021 here in August. I think it's going to be August when this airs. Well, whatever. It's my good pal, Brandon Burpee. Thanks for coming on, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I heard I was beckoned, so here I am. Say my name like Candyman.
Oh my god, that is, yeah. I don't know why they're making a remake of that. Is that a movie that needs to be remade? Like, is there going to be a significantly different concept to that? Isn't it still just going in a bathroom and saying Candyman 3 times?
No, Candyman was more intricate than that. Like, I don't want to go too into it because now I don't know if they're just remaking the original or what the deal is. So I don't want to give away any spoilers, but no, Candyman was badass.
He freaked me out. It wasn't going into the bathroom, or is that just Bloody Mary?
No, that was definitely a Candyman thing, but there was more to him than just this dude that came out when you chanted Candyman.
I did not like that.
He had a whole tragic backstory. And
when I was a kid, I was so freaked out by Candyman. I don't know. Have you ever done the Candyman? I'm not even going to say it 3 times, but have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
First time I heard it, I had to try it.
Oh god, I did that. I did all of them. Anyways, I could go on about those things, but I will say that you are the most commonly requested guest, which is really funny. I'm not saying it's like a genuinely funny way, but it's just I have a lot of people come on and everyone's always like, when's Brandon coming back? So you're back for an all random episode where Brandon and I are going to dig into a wide variety of subjects, some of which came from listeners, most of which came from me, maybe some of which came from Brandon. We'll find out. And it is legit random too, as I'm going to be selecting them at random from a bowl that is directly in front of me because that's how I roll. Brandon, you ready to do this?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, this there's a lot of, I think I came up with some pretty good ones this time. Let's see what I got. Okay, first question. Oh, God, this is a really incredible starting point. I have to start by asking you, do you have any idea what's going on with Substack and comics?
Okay, so Substack. This is what I know about Substack. There's a lot of creators going over to do work on Substack, which is some kind of paid service I've gathered. But other than that, I have no clue how to get to these people's Substacks or anything about it. I've just seen a CBR headline or a Bleeding Cool thing, or you know what I mean, talking about Substack. But I haven't really read much on it. I really don't understand. I want in on it, though. I really want in on it. Looks like people are making money.
I do think it's really funny. Somebody brought that up, and I was like, I don't know if Brandon's going to know about this. And he was just like, that's another point. If you're not on comics Twitter, do you even know or care about this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think you just read comics, and if all of a sudden James Tynion isn't writing Batman anymore, you're just going to read Josh Williamson writing Batman because that's how it's rolling. And whether or not there's Substack involved. But here's the gist. Substack is a email newsletter platform where they pay some people to create content on their platform. For example, Jonathan Hickman is doing one where basically they gave him a big chunk of money and he's using that to do a comic with Mike Huddleston, Mike Del Mundo, Teenie Howard, Al Ewing, and Rom V, where basically they're using this email newsletter platform to build up the lore and build up the history of this stuff via text, but then also releasing comics and making this really complicated, nuanced, in-depth thing. And so basically Substack's just giving these guys or all these people a bunch of money to do whatever they want and to release the comics, or not comics. Like Scott Snyder's just doing classes on making comics on there. And then they own all the rights and they can do whatever they want with it afterwards. If they want to publish it at Image or if they want to self-publish it or do whatever, they can. They can just do whatever. Basically, they're just getting bags of money to do stuff on Substack. That's it.
I was going to say, so what does Substack get out of it other than having big names? Is that just it?
I think that they're basically just advertising for, you could do this too. Come here and do this. And Substack gets a cut of, a huge cut of the first year of subscription money. And then after that, I think they get 10% of the subscription money going forward. So that's basically how it works monetarily. But also I think that the big thing is they hope that if they get these big names that they can hook other people in by saying doesn't this seem cool? Don't you want to do this? And maybe they do, or maybe they don't. But the Steve Atkinson asked, how can Marvel, DC, Image learn from the Substack model? Can they adopt a version of it themselves? Do you have any thoughts on it, given the fact you literally just learned about this?
I have no thoughts other than I think it's a terrible idea for them to just hand out gobs of money to hope that people come over and hang out. That just seems, I don't know. It seems desperate.
Well, I mean, it might be. I mean, honestly, a lot of tech companies have these great ideas of like, what if we just give people money and they're going to bring people over here? I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work. That seems like a pretty big if. But I don't honestly think there's a lot for Marvel, DC, and Image and whoever else to learn from this, because I don't think any of them have like just massive bags of money to throw at people to do whatever they want with. The only reason why Substack does is because they have all these, venture capitalists investing in them saying, do whatever you want with this money, just make your audience bigger. And I don't think Marvel and DC and Image and Boom and whoever else has that. I guess the one thing I will say is that if you're a comic publisher and you have the opportunity to pay people to do exactly what they want when they want, it's going to be a really good way to draw them over. So do that more, I guess.
So, because I'm still confused by this whole Substack thing. So it's all digital. You're not going to be able to get it in physical form?
No, yeah, eventually they'll print it also. I mean,
Gotcha.
Substack won't. They can print it through whoever. They can print it through Image. They can print it through whatever.
Okay, because all I'm thinking is like, this is going to be like comic pirater's dream.
Well, and the funny thing is they don't even really have a mechanic for like actually releasing the comics. So far, people have just released them as JPEGs via email. It's not exactly a comic reading dream so far.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
It's really weird.
So what does it cost you or I to go get in on something like this so we can see it?
So like James Tynion, I think his is either $7 a month or $8 a month, and you get access to all the comics he releases on there, all of the things he writes about stuff. Like he's writing all this behind the scenes Batman, DC stuff. Like Jonathan Hickman's one, I think is $7 or $8 a month, or it's like cheaper if you do an annual one. And like the annual one, like there's all kinds of bonuses they include too. Like if you did the annual one for Hickman, you get access to a interview just for subscribers to where he interviews Grant Morrison. And like you get to watch that, and they're going to be like regular things like that where they're going to have extra content. Or like Chip Zdarsky did personalized videos where if you signed up for his plans, he sent you a video where he thanks you for it. And mine is like the most like heartfelt, tear-jerking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's beautiful. So there's all kinds of little perks like that. You could like Chip's gonna have, I think, monthly or bi-monthly chats where you can go, and if you're a subscriber, you can just hang out with him and ask him questions and stuff. It's basically replacing Twitter and I don't know, comic publishing in one thing, but also not, because they're still gonna print it at places. It's wild.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of people going there.
How it pans out.
Yeah, I mean, like Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman just went there. There's a bunch more people still coming. It's pretty wild. Okay, let's move on from that because Substack is weird. Okay, this is a movie question I had. There's like so many movies coming out, and I think it's really funny, or comic movies and shows that are coming out for 2021. And I think it's really funny that I made this list, and that list has already changed because Venom got pushed to 2022. So if you have to power rank excitement levels for the remaining comic movies and shows for 2021, how would you rank them? Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man Far From Home, Why the Last Man, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel. What do you got?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I've just got to remember these 6 in order.
Okay, we'll start with number 1. What are you most excited for?
Definitely Spider-Man.
Yeah? Did you like that trailer?
Definitely Spider-Man. That trailer was awesome. Just like trying to dissect all the little bits of it is fun.
It's so wild that they're doing one more day, basically.
Yeah. Like I heard the theory, and I kind of like it that like Doc Strange is actually Mephisto in that.
Oh my god. Like Marvel is giving people so many opportunities for theories these days. It's pretty wild.
I love it. I love that you can just go wild.
I would say that's probably that's probably number 1 for me too. But Eternals, I'm really excited for some Celestials action. The only thing about it is like, I showed Amber the trailer for the most recent trailer that came out, and she's like, "What is this?" And I was like, "That's not great." That's like the final trailer, and she's like, "I don't know what the hell's even going on. Like, who are these people? What is happening?" The trailers have not done a great job of kind of really blowing that one out yet. But for me, okay, I'm gonna list mine: Spider-Man Far From Home, Eternals, Why the Last Man, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, Shang-Chi, and I guess that's it because Venom's gone.
Yeah, I would have to be then Spider-Man, Y, Shang-Chi.
I'm excited for
Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel,
Eternals last.
And Eternals last. Yeah, And mostly because I never have been a huge Eternals fan.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm totally with her on that. Like, I don't like, they haven't sold me on the idea that I need an Eternals movie.
Right. Yeah, that's a valid point. That's a valid point. All right, what do we got next? Okay, I mean, this is specifically about you and your kids. What do you think it would take to get your kids excited about comics, or if they're into them, what works for them? I'm interested.
To get them into comics, you'd have to have some kind of virtual reality aspect to it.
Are they super into VR?
VR or just Eva would probably be more inclined to read it. She's not as like digitally. I don't know how to put it, like digitally
Obsessed?
deficient. Yeah, obsessed.
Is Dex super into it?
He wants to consume everything digitally. He's got his laptop around almost at all times. So like you'll be talking, he's like, "Well, I just Googled it and I found that da 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 da." I mean, he's on top of it, so he likes to be plugged into that knowledge at all times. Eva's more into just kind of like reading for the fun of reading and stuff. He does read for fun too, but he also just loves to have like current event stuff, and he loves NPR instead of music when you're in the car. So he's just a different animal. I think he'd be much more into like indie comics than superhero comics. I know that for a fact, but it's a matter of finding him the right stuff. And then Eva, she'd probably be more inclined to read stuff like that, but she's still reading stuff like Harry Potter, and like she's on a magic kick right now. So
yeah. Would Dex be like a Matrix kid? Would be like, I would be totally into being in the Matrix. Although, you know, in some ways the Matrix would be cool, besides the whole machine subjugating you thing. That part would be fun.
I think Dex would love to have the machine subjugate him. He just wants to be part of it.
He just wants to have a good time with all the machines. That sounds like the basic way.
He's down with the Phalanx and all those guys. He's in.
So you don't. It seems like it would have to be tech related, and it would have to be something that isn't specifically superheroes. Like, I wonder if like Webtoon would work for them. Webtoon's like an app where it's like a wide variety of stories. A lot of them are like kind of slice of life or fantasy or whatever. And it's all on your phone, and it's all it is an infinite scroll. You just scroll up and you just keep reading and reading and reading, and then you go to the next episode. And it's super popular with young people. Super popular with young people. And I do wonder if that would work better, but that might not even be tech enough. We got to get that Matrix stuff going on.
100%. If you could jack him into it, he'd be all about it.
Oh my God. I mean, that would be pretty amazing. I would love to learn Kung Fu. Okay, next question. You can only keep one: Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, or March Madness college basketball. Which one do you keep?
Oh, this is a sick question.
I think I know the answer, but I'll be interested to see if I'm right. My answer would be NBA. It's easy.
As the only one to keep?
Only one to keep, yeah.
Oh my God.
That's like asking you to choose between your children.
Man, and it's so difficult because, see, NBA and basketball is my favorite sport, but the Sox are my favorite sports team. So it's like...
I thought you would go baseball just because you love the Sox the most.
That's like those two against each other. And then March Madness, I love doing the bracket. My daughter got it right this year. She got the winner. Yeah, 1 month a year. Oh, it's better than my love life. Man, I'd probably keep the NBA.
Really? I really thought you were going to go baseball just because the Sox. I just can't imagine, like, you without the Sox is like you without a heart.
I know it. I don't know what I would do. But if I'm, like, thinking about it logically, amount of time,
yeah.
Like, I guess, honestly, a baseball game could be, like, 4 hours. So sometimes it probably does even out. But, like, if I'm not watching a Sox game, I'm not watching baseball, really.
Right.
Unless it's, like, the playoffs and the Sox are involved somewhere in there. But basketball, I'll watch other teams play in that, you know?
Yeah. I would definitely do NBA. I spend way more time watching the NBA. I actually don't watch nearly as much football as I used to. So NFL would be easy to cut for me. And March Madness is super fun. I don't know. I love baseball, but I think I like the idea of baseball more than I like watching it. I can't even watch the Mariners right now because Root Sports doesn't have a deal with YouTube TV. So there's just I can't even watch my favorite team, which is a huge bummer. And it's blacked out here if I actually like did the MLB TV or whatever, which is stupid. Baseball makes it way too hard to watch baseball. But anyways, that's a complaint for something else. But okay, next question. This one I'm very proud of. So Marvel has a ton of cosmic beings, right? So they're all crazy powerful and can do basically anything they want. But I was thinking about it. Like, Which one do you think has the best life? What is their? I'm really honestly like curious as to what their lives are like. If you theorized outside of like Galactus eating planets, who among them do you think finds the most joy?
I mean, Death's got to be living pretty well.
Do you think? I guess if your goal in life is death and your name is Death, the fact that people are constantly dying would be really great for you.
Yeah, it's just a constant smorgasbord.
Yeah. What does Eternity do? Does like Eternity, does he just watch himself? Is that like Eternity TV?
He's got to be bored as hell.
Oh my God. Everything interesting is literally his body.
Yeah. He's a narcissist for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I guess you could say Ego the Living Planet, because Ego the Living Planet could actually his life probably sucks too. I honestly think the answer is probably Galactus, because basically his entire life is like built around being a foodie. And so he just goes around from place to place and is constantly like eating. That's not altogether that different than my actual life. And if you like consider the Heralds of Galactus as his friends, I think in some ways you could say that he at least has like people in his life and he's really into food. So he's got that going for him. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about it. I'm like, these guys, I mean, cosmic beings, like Celestials, those dudes don't even talk.
That'd be boring too. That's the thing, is I feel like the more powerful you get, the more boring you get.
I know, right? It would be really, really boring to be that. Okay, so follow-up question. Which cosmic being would you most want to be?
Oh, man.
I could see you being the living tribunal. Just having 3 heads for no reason. Oh, you know what I could be Order and you could be Chaos. Master Order and was it Master Chaos?
And Chaos.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty on brand for us.
I like that. That's good.
Let's see, what do we got next? Okay. If you were gifted $1 billion, what's the thing you would do for yourself first in a purely selfish sense? It cannot be charitable, cannot be for your kids, cannot be practical. What would you do?
Oh, man. I'd see if I could buy whatever amount that would get me of the Red Sox.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Whatever chunk of the team I could get for that.
The one thing I don't... Okay, so like Giannis just bought part of the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't know if you saw that.
Yep.
So like you have to keep paying in though, right? Like you don't just buy it once and all of a sudden you just owe it forever. You still have to, like, does he have to pay money for salary every year?
I don't know how that works. I don't know if it's like buying a stock share where you just own a stock in it, or I don't know.
I mean, someone's got to pay their salaries. Maybe it just all comes from like the kitty of like the people who put in billions of dollars to begin with or something.
Maybe. I don't know how it works. I just want in on it.
Okay, let's say you'll put in as much money as you possibly can to last for a very long time as at least a small partial owner of the Red Sox.
Yeah, something that'll get me at least in the back when we win a World Series, so I can get all bubbly all over me. Les Champions.
Ooh, I like that. I imagine you would also get free tickets for that, because they're not really free tickets because you spent like $1 billion on it, but you know,
yeah,
it's really expensive tickets when you think about it.
Free tickets of my life.
Exactly. I'm guessing you can, you know, when you went to the World Series, you sat up on the Monster, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you can sit whatever you want in that case.
Yeah, the Monster was pretty dope. I'd like to be sitting right behind home plate though. Next, that's like one of the only spots in the way I haven't sat.
I think you can go pretty much anywhere you want if you at least partially own the team, even if it's just like a small portion. Although I think $1 billion would buy you quite a bit.
I do too.
I would hope so. I don't know. $1 billion doesn't go as far as it used to. Mine is much more modest. So I recently found out that like, do you know who Steve Aoki is?
Yo, yeah.
Yeah, Steve Aoki is apparently a huge sports cards guy. And like, he'll have these like weird like get-togethers with his friends where they just like sit around all weekend and open like insane amounts of sports cards together. And I would like to buy a bunch of dumb sports cards and just open them. During the pandemic, I was just like, maybe I'll check out some sports cards. And then I found out that sports cards are insanely expensive now. And I think if I had $1 billion, the first thing I would do that would be purely selfish and dumb would be buying myself a bunch of really expensive sports cards that I wouldn't normally buy unless I had $1 billion. And then opening the packs and then finding out that I just got a bunch of like, I don't know, Nelson Cruz cards or something, and be very disappointed by that. But anyways, that's what I would spend mine on. I don't know why. That is like the first thing that popped to my mind.
That's a good one though, because like I know like I got when Bosco's was in Diamond in their old location, they had like a card sale, and they sold a box of like 93 Flair Ultras to me,
Oh yeah.
like for like something like 20-30 bucks. I opened like a pack a year.
Really?
Yeah, dude, I only opened like one pack a year. I still got like three more packs left.
Oh my God. That is amazing. You
It's so much fun. Like, and I still have the ones that I had from when I was in elementary school. So I'm hoping I can complete out my set, but mostly I'm just getting doubles. But it's still fun as hell.
do you open it on the same day every year?
Nah, there'll be days where I'm just really, really bored and I'm like, today's the day.
I gotta give you credit. That is really impressive, like restraint, not just opening all of them.
It's fun that way. I do
Yeah.
the same thing with the Star Wars books, like the
EU ones.
proper universe. Yeah, the proper universe, as I like to call it.
That's what you call the
I
EU.
Yeah, they call it the EU. I call it proper universe, the actuals.
I like it.
But I save those books. I do only one a year of those too, just trying to ride it out as long as possible. Ride that nostalgia until it's dead.
You have way better restraint than me. I would not be able to hang with that. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would just be fun. It's just there's something like pure and nice about that. I'd probably regret it because then I would just have a bunch of sports cards that I don't really want around. Like I would get 10 cards I really am excited about, and then the rest of them I'm like, cool. I got a bunch of just like random Chris Middleton cards or something like that. Great, so excited about this. But anyways, okay, that's what I would do.
I'd be pissed if all I got was Chris Middleton cards. I'd be like, this is a slight against me. I understand what's happening here.
Yeah, I know the Bucks are coming for you. They come for you in the finals, and then they come for you in your sports cards. That'd be terrible. Next question. Let's say there's a situation where somehow all crime and danger is wiped out in all of the superhero comics, and immediately every single one of them, the heroes and the villains, open restaurants to fill the hole in their respective lives. Whose place would you go to first, expecting greatness? Whose restaurant do you think would be the worst? And which one do you think would be the best?
Ooh. I feel like Poison Ivy'd have a dope restaurant, like a nice vegan joint.
That would be that's a great pick. I mean, all organic greens, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything organic from the Mother Earth herself.
So would that be the one you think would be best, or is that the one you would go to first expecting greatness?
I feel like they would be the same thing. I would expect greatness, and then I would expect that it actually turns out incredibly better than I thought.
I like it. I'm going to go with that one too for expecting greatness, but the one I think would be the best, I feel like Professor X would open a restaurant and then he would make just trash food and then just like use his mind powers to make me think I loved it. And I think it would be just as good, right?
Just made trash food.
He's like, sloppy joes. I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest food I've ever eaten in my entire life.
Yeah. I like it. You can't go wrong.
No. I mean, does that really count as good food at that point, though?
I mean, reality is how you perceive it.
That's true. I think whose restaurant would be the worst would be Captain America.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, in the MCU, he has that whole line of like, oh, we used to boil everything. I mean, like, that is literally how he knows how to cook, just boiling shit. That is not a solution to good chef behavior. And he doesn't, like, I imagine he's the type of person who meal plans. Like, he just makes like a bunch of rice and a bunch of like chicken breasts and a bunch of broccolis. And now there's nothing wrong with that, but I bet he has a really boring palate and he just looks at everything purely like from a caloric standpoint. And
I would agree 100%.
Yeah, and I don't think that he would do anything that would possibly cause him like gastral distress when he's out crime fighting. So I think he'd had a really low risk, very boring place to eat.
I would agree with that.
Do you have a pick, or are you just going to go with Cap too?
Pretty good, but I also think like a Wolverine joint would not be very good. I could see that being a lot of like dive bar food, but like the kind where you're using their bathroom, which everybody else has used really quickly.
Yeah. I could see him like literally just being like, I don't know, putting out bowls of peanuts and he's just like, eat the peanuts. That's what I serve here. You can drink beer, peanuts. That's it. And like that's
and the sinks are broke.
Or meats.
You can wash your hands. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Okay. I feel like back in the day, you were a collector. You like, you loved like your comics, but now you read mostly digitally. Does the collecting part of comics mean as much to you as the reading part?
That tends to change like as the years go on. I'm finding more and more so that the reading part is becoming more important to me and the collecting is becoming less. Like at this point, I'm willing to try to like cut down the collection I have just because it's so ridiculous. I mean, I haven't bought comics in forever, but I've got like 37 long boxes that are just, they take up a huge chunk of my living room.
Yeah.
So for me, like the collectability aspect of it is becoming more of a burden than it is like a pleasure.
Yeah.
So I think it's just becoming a function of getting older and needing the space. But the reading, I don't think I'll ever stop reading comics. There's no way. Like I'm too invested at this point in time.
Yeah. I'm pretty much the same way. I mean, there's like some comics that I want. Like I'm trying to do all of Uncanny X, or the first volume of X-Men, and I want to get Incredible Hulk 181 at some point, but that is less important to me than just enjoying the comics. I don't know. I mean, I do think it's interesting because I still enjoy like looking through long boxes and doing things like that, but I feel like I've gotten a lot more selective when it comes to what I want physically versus what I would be willing to read just digitally or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right, it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, I mean, and there are some things like if you marketed it right, I'd buy it. You know, like I do like my Marvel omnibuses, so I'm inclined to get something more like that than I am to buy like a whole collection of comics, you know, number 1 through 50 or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something I can just put up on my bookshelf is just so much easier nowadays, and that's still, for me, that's still collection, but just a much more reasonable collection.
Well, I mean, it's so much easier to go to your bookcase and grab like an omnibus or a hardcover or whatever than it is to go into a long box and then find the thing you're looking for. Because I mean, if you're just down there for reading, I mean, honestly, it's like when I read Marvel back issues, it's 99.9% of the time Marvel Unlimited, just because it's so easy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, with DC stuff, I prefer reading like the print versions. But honestly, I don't really buy that many Marvel or DC print collections. Marvel ones, they're just not good. And then DC ones, it's just, I don't know. I guess I just buy less DC collections. I don't know why it is. But yeah, I mean, I think to a certain degree, like those two sides will always have a connection for me. But like, I don't care about variants, and I don't really care about like collecting in the sense of having 5 of the same cover or 5 different covers for the same comic because I really like that comic. I'm like, if it's the same inside, it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I really don't care. The variants part, I think the last time I really cared about variants was when they did the Secret Invasion stuff, and every so often like one of them would have a scroll face on it. Remember that?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Oh yeah, during Secret Invasion, like they would have like scroll covers, so like one of the faces on there would be a scroll face instead of the face that it was supposed to be.
Oh.
And they had variants like that. And so I remember digging through the stacks, but Bosco's was like, you can only take the one off the top. And I was like, how are you going to enforce that? I remember just like digging through that, like just thinking, somebody come tell me not to do this. I dare you. Like,
that does not strike me as Bosco's like behavior.
Yeah.
That's so wild. Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I think the last time you and I did anything with the variants was when we used to go to A1 and try to see if you could find like the Scotty Young variants that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Because they would always mark the variants at cover price. But I think that's because that place was 99.9% certain a front for something that we don't want to know about. Or they were just really bad at business. I don't know which.
Oh, man. I hope it was a front, because they were truly bad at business, and it would make way more sense if they just didn't care because they were a front.
You know what's wild?
What?
Were you still here when they closed?
Yeah.
Yeah, because my parents went over when they closed, and my dad asked the dude who owned it, and he was like, how much would it cost to like buy all this stuff? And he's like, I'm not selling. I'm just going to put it in like a Connex and let it sit there forever. And apparently he still has it. And like apparently Bosco's has checked in on it, and he's like, wants like actual cover price for like all of them, every single issue. And
God,
what a wild dude. I mean, like those comics are going to get ruined eventually if they're just sitting in like Connexes in Alaska. But
man, can you imagine? And the action figures and all that stuff.
That dude is sitting on millions and millions of dollars. Like there's an Ocean's 11 movie where some really aspirational comic collector just breaks in there and just jacks all of his stuff and then gets rich or something like that. That'd be a really lame Ocean's 11 movie, but it'd be like Alaska Ocean's 11. I feel like that's on brand for Alaska.
Man, I'll be right back.
Finally a reason for you to come back to Alaska.
Yeah.
And now, a message from Bad Idea. Bad Idea is over. But they're still advertising, so I don't know what's going on. I guess it's another bad idea from Bad Idea. And now, back to the show. Next question. We had like a million questions about the Suns. Mario Tiambang, a Dallas Mavericks fan, asked, were the Suns lucky to get to the finals, and can they do it again, considering how crazy the West is?
I don't think we were lucky at all. I mean, it's a game of attrition. You got to have guys who are healthy, and if you don't, you're not going to get any further than the guys that are healthy.
Durability is a skill.
Yeah, so other players went down. We lost CP3 for multiple games. We had guys out. We still got where we got to, so I don't buy into the luck thing at all, man. Other than bad luck that Giannis didn't stay out injured.
Right.
That's the only bad luck we had.
And it turns out that Giannis is extremely good.
Yeah, it turns out that he's just this unstoppable machine that we all knew he was.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Next year, I don't know. Like you said, the West is so crazy. It's hard to predict anything. I'd like to say we have a solid shot. I mean, we still have the same squad. And then, you've got another year under your belt as a squad, because that was 1 year together with CP3 right there. So now we're going into year 2. They're going to be ready to play. A lot of guys have signed up on contracts. They're getting paid. They're ready to go.
And I don't know why Bridges,
West,
Ayton, and Booker aren't going to be better.
Aren't going to be better? Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like, it's they're young. They should be getting better, right?
100%. We're gonna be a good team, but the West is gonna be deep as hell, like it always is, and you're gonna have a fully healthy AD and LeBron, allegedly. I mean, that's the thing, is who knows? It's all based on who is healthy this year. For all we know, the Suns goes down at the beginning of the season. You can't stop that. I don't know. Basketball is an unpredictable devil.
I feel like the West is really weird, though, because there's a lot of teams that are theoretically good. Without Kawhi and without Jamal Murray, like, how good are the Clippers and the Nuggets? I mean, like, if they're fully healthy by the playoffs, maybe. But, I mean, Golden State, people are talking that up a lot. I mean, Klay hasn't played in, like, 2 years. So that's a pretty big if. Without Klay, we saw what they are, and what they are is, pretty good, but didn't even make it into the playoffs. And I mean, and that was with like Steph having like a virtuoso year. I mean, you could make the argument that like James Wiseman's going to be better, and they got the new young guys, and Andre Iguodala is back, but I don't know. We'll see. And then the Lakers, I mean, honestly, like I love Russell Westbrook and I love that whole team, but that team is either going to be unbelievable or the hottest mess that's ever existed. Like, those are the spectrums.
That's that's ever existed.
It is very on the table. I mean, like, Russ makes no sense with those two dudes.
No, none.
It'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't buy, like, when people ever argue like the asterisk thing because of injuries or because of whatever. Like, if the Suns won and they're like, oh, they should have got an asterisk. I'm like, every year there's injuries. There shouldn't be an asterisk every single year.
Yeah.
And also, I think the Suns have every reasonable chance to do just as well next year, if not better. I mean, because CP3, it's not like that dude was ever based off athleticism. That dude's about being crafty, getting to the elbow, and making passes.
Mm-hmm.
Follow-up question. Which of your teams do you most want a title for?
Oh, the Suns, without a doubt.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the Sox have gotten a few in my lifetime. I didn't think we were ever going to get one, so if we never get another one, I'll be disappointed, but man, I can't complain.
Wildcats, you've seen a couple?
One, 97.
Yeah.
Wildcats have gotten one. The Cardinals haven't gotten one, the Arizona Cardinals, but Suns over Cardinals any day. That's not even that's a no-brainer to me. So yeah, 100%.
Are the Cardinals third on your list, or are they behind the Wildcats?
They're behind the Wildcats.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. I know that you like the Cardinals and you are a big fan of them, but at the same time, I know that they're behind in the rest. But okay, next question, also sports related, but also comics. So which Marvel or DC character would you least want in your fantasy football league, and which would you most want in your fantasy league?
Oh, man. Super Pro for sure. I want.
In your league?
In my league, yeah. NFL Super Pro.
I feel like he'd be bad. He'd be really bad at it.
No way. He's a super pro, David.
But why would you want someone good in your league? I mean, let's make the assumption that it's a paid league. Why would you want somebody that would challenge you? You want their money.
Wait a minute. I thought they were on my team.
No. This is your fantasy football league. Fantasy football.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't I want him on my team then?
No. In your league. Like one of the other teams, drafting your other teams.
Oh, Okay, I would not want Super Pro then on somebody else's team. I had that question all fucked around.
No,
My
no, no,
bad.
no. This is like if like let's say your normal league that you used to do or you still do, all of a sudden expands to 12 teams or 14 teams or whatever. That person would be in your league. So it's like Wolverine would be playing fantasy football in your league. So it's like who would you most want in your league and who would you least want?
Gotcha. All right. Take three. We got this. So I would least want the calculator because I feel like he'd have this all figured out. He'd have all like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, he'd be like a daily fantasy god. He'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, he would have all the stats figured out. He'd be ridiculous. I wouldn't want him anywhere near there. I'd be like toilet tinkering, and he would be just all in. So I would not want him. I do feel like I would want the Thing to join. I feel like he'd be terrible. I think you could get in his head and make him overthink things.
I came up with a great answer for who I'd most want in my league. Ready?
Yep.
Bizarro. Because he'd be like, draft the best players. He's like, draft best player? And he's like, I will draft, I don't know, somebody extremely, he's going to draft Ryan Lindley. Sorry, Ryan Lindley. It was the first bad player I could think of. I don't even know like who a really bad player is these days. Like who's the third, like he's going to draft Mitchell Trubisky as his first pick or something like that. Because he does everything backwards. Bizarro would be terrible. And so I would want him in my league because he'd be really, really bad at it. I like the calculator. I was going to say Professor X here too, but I don't think Professor X would be a good answer just because knowing who you're going to pick wouldn't affect you unless he actually used his powers to change your pick, which would be bad also. I like the calculator. The calculator is a good pick. Basically anyone that's good with numbers and good with math. Like I wouldn't trust Oracle in my league because I would assume that there'd be like shenanigans going on with like commissioner action. I definitely wouldn't let Oracle or the calculator be my commissioner. No way.
No way. Collusion.
Yeah, absolute collusion. It would be no good. Okay, next question. What do we got? Oh. All right, so did you see anything about like the DC 5G stuff and like what the whole timeline thing?
Yeah, I saw like pictures of the timeline, like ideas of what it was going to be, what certain creators have said they knew it was or wasn't going to be, stuff like that. But I wouldn't swear on my life to know all about it. That's for sure.
I mean, that's the gist. I mean, I didn't look through all the details, but basically DC had a plan to organize continuity in a way that like sets everything into a firm spot. So it's like, this is when this happened. This is when this happened, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, I don't really care about continuity. Like when I saw that just seems like too much work for something that should just be like, oh, that happened in the past rather than like that happened 27.3 years ago or something like that. Does continuity really matter to you in that sense? Like, do you need precise stuff? Do you want that?
I do and I don't. So like I kind of like what DC's doing now with this whole like everything matters because you could easily just treat everything as a what if, you know what I mean? Like you could take and do the DC universe in the universe that we knew pre-52 for like a year and then say, okay, we're going to another universe, you know what I mean? Like you could change it up. So any more continuity, I want continuity if there's supposed to be continuity. Like between the Bat books, I'd like some continuity unless one title is very clearly outside of it, you know what I mean? But I don't need a strict continuity that, you know, like, oh, Bane broke Batman's back in 1985, you know what I mean? Or whatever their timeline would have been. So that way all the Robins made sense.
Right.
But yeah, so in that regard, it doesn't have, does it matter to you?
No, I mean, so it sounds like to me, like you're saying you want internal continuity. So it's consistent with each other, but you don't really care about the specifics.
Yeah, just, I mean, the specifics, unless they really impact the story that you're telling at that moment, don't matter. Because I think everybody at this point who's been reading for a long period of time has their own continuity in their head.
Yeah.
Like there are things that I omit entirely. The Chuck Austin run, who is that? I don't even know when that took place. Like that doesn't involve my X-Men. So yeah, I think everybody omits things here or there, and so it really doesn't matter unless you really just want to complain about it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Honestly, it's like I kind of look at it as just life, and it's like I don't remember precisely when I did X or Y, but I know I did them. And it's like, as long as I remember that, that's kind of like all that matters. And it can influence at times. I mean, it's not like every time I eat a sandwich, I think about a time I had a sandwich like 20 years ago or something like that. So I don't know. It's like it shouldn't come into play all the time. It just seems like a really good way to get lost in your own stories. So I don't know. I mean, I think continuity helps if you don't make it everything. If it's just, this makes sense because X or Y, then that works for me. I don't think we should. That whole thing that they were doing with 5G just struck me as being too micro obsessed with it.
I agree. They weren't keeping it simple.
No, definitely not. I mean, that just seems like a way to make things way too complicated. Okay, next question. What comic this year has surprised you the most, but specifically in a good way?
Ooh, that's a great question because there have been some titles this year that have really surprised me. I am really enjoying Suicide Squad right now.
Interesting.
Did not think I would be saying that. Superboy was in it, so I had to give it a shot, and then they won me over. Like it's an entertaining title. I am really enjoying Catwoman. Catwoman has been fantastic. So I would say a few DC books, Checkmate. But yeah, so definitely there have been some titles that have surprised me. I don't want to go into too much detail just because we're so close to the end of the year too, though.
Yeah, you don't want to spoil that.
Yeah, I can't show my hand yet, but those are little looks at things you might see on my list this upcoming January.
December. I'm gonna say that
December.
the one that surprises me the most, and I might have mentioned this during our end of the year last year. I don't think I did, but I'm still really amazed by how much I like Hellions. Like Hellions is
a great book.
It's really fun. It's like so dumb and weird and like hilarious, and it's just really odd. It's like an odd book, and I love it. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think even after the first arc, I would have said that like this is a book that I'm really excited by. But now it's like one of the comic or X comics that I look forward to the most. It's a really fun comic.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you entirely. That's easily, like you said, one of the X books I look forward to the most every month.
It's really fun. I mean, it's so dumb sometimes. Like the Hellfire Gala one was really great. Actually, the next question fits in perfectly. What's your current favorite X-Men title?
Current favorite X-Men title might just be Hellions, honestly. I really enjoy what Wolverine's doing, but Hellions is just constantly fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun, and it's such a different flavor than everything else. My favorite's Sword. I love Sword. Sword is just nice. Like really out there.
It's just tying into too much stuff for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's in that last Annihilation thing right now, and if you're not wanting to read Guardians or anything like that, then it's gonna be a lot. I did really like Cable. Cable was like one that I feel like I was higher on than other people. But okay, next question. Something like half of DC's line in August 2021 is Batman. Do you have a maximum level of Batman? You love Batman. Do you think that half the line is too much?
No, never. No, in all seriousness, fuck yeah, that's way too much. That's bat overkill. That just seems like shooting yourself in the foot. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with WWE, like doubling down on like the bigger, older stars to try to grab that cash when they can.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of thing they're doing with Batman here in DC, I think. Instead of bringing in an audience, kind of like Marvel did with Ms. Marvel and all these characters now that are starting to bleed over at Hawkeye, that are bleeding over to the movies and TV shows and video games. You know, people weren't necessarily all 100% on board with those characters when they happened, but you can't deny the life that those characters have now blossomed into. Whereas, you know, I don't think the same thing is happening over at DC. You can't say that you're making other titles flourish when over 50% of them are Batman titles. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I think the argument you can make is that there's a lot of different flavors of Batman you could do, but at the same time, I mean, if I went to Baskin Robbins and all 31 of their flavors were different types of chocolate, I don't think I'd be really into it. But I don't know.
I could eat a lot of chocolate, David.
Are you a chocolate ice cream guy?
I like chocolate ice cream.
It's
a lot of different. Yeah, it's fine. It's delicious.
If I was going to do chocolate related, I'm like more in the cookies and cream vein. I don't know. I'm just not a big chocolate ice cream type of guy. But either way, I mean, regardless, if I had 31 flavors of chocolate, it'd be a little bit too much. It does seem like overkill, but I don't know. I mean, that's one of those things. It's like you were saying with WWE. It's just, do you just go with what works until it stops working altogether and you start watching other wrestling things? And I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're trying to find an answer. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I don't know, that's weird, which is unfortunate because some of the titles I listed, like, they're good titles, and they're titles that I wouldn't have necessarily given a shot to before, but they've actually been pretty solid. But having said that, also, Catwoman is in the Batman universe,
Right.
so
Nightwing is awesome. I don't know if you read Nightwing, but
Nightwing is good. Most of the Bat stuff's really good right now, I think.
yeah. Okay, fitting. Next question was a listener question. What can AEW and Image learn from one another? Like, this is going to have to be something you answer because I don't know anything about AEW.
Well, first of all, Image needs more CM Punk and fireworks. Um, that would be what I think Image could learn from AEW.
Wait,
Sure.
really quick. So for listeners that don't know, just in case you don't know what AEW is a wrestling. What are they?
All Elite Wrestling.
It's all elite wrestling, but what do they call them? Leagues?
They don't. They're just a company.
It's just AEW.
Wrestling
Yeah.
company.
What do you think they could learn from one another besides more fireworks and more CM Punk?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Like, they both operate kind of in the same vein. They're kind of a big hub for indie people, or large names to come and actually use their talent in a more creative aspect and in a way. They're very similar. It's actually a really good question, but I think you could find more similarities than you could differences. Um, AEW, a lot of the founding people were people that didn't work out in WWE because they didn't fit the mold of what they thought a wrestler should be. Meanwhile, in the indie scene, these guys are making tons of money. They're making money in Japan, things like that. So they set off and did their own company, a lot like what happened with Marvel, people leaving to go start Image. So there's actually a lot more similarities, I think, than there are differences.
I feel like this is a really interesting parallel. I really wish I knew
It is.
anything
I
about
actually
AEW.
like.
What's
Yeah,
that?
whoever came up with this question, it's a fun one.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really good one. I was like, I feel like there's something there, especially when we were talking before the podcast about that stuff. Let me give shouts to whoever it was. Okay, it was Samurai Godzilla asked that. So
Nice.
thank
Yeah.
you, Samurai Godzilla. It does seem like there's a lot of overlap there. I wish I could actually speak to it because I just don't know anything about AEW. But from the sounds of it, it just sounds like that's kind of like, where a place goes or where a wrestler goes to do what they do best and what they know they do best, and they're allowed to do that.
Well, and that's the thing is too, another AEW Image kind of parallel is a lot of these wrestlers who are going over to AEW from WWE are wrestlers who are stuck in long-term contracts who've been asking to get out of their contracts because of creative reasons consistently. So they're finally getting out. Now they're getting to go do what they want to do creatively over with AEW, which is, again, a lot like, guys like, who am I thinking, like Hickman for a while there, and Remender and guys like that who have all kind of, Jason Aaron, well, he's still around.
Yeah. Has there ever been somebody who went to AEW and it just totally backfired?
Not really, because it's still pretty new. I mean, it's only been a few years it's been around, but so far, no, not really. Most of the people have come over. There's some people who have come over that WWE basically sat on forever that I didn't think were going to be huge when they came over to AEW, and kind of surprised me when they were able to kind of do their own thing. So, not yet.
Interesting. Next question. You're mostly a superhero guy. What gets you excited about superhero comics? Is there something in specific that you look for?
COD pieces.
That's a good answer. Like size?
Yeah.
Design?
All of the above. I just respect a very well put together COD piece. There's intricacies that go into that we just can't even detail on a show like this.
Oh,
That's
man.
going to cost you guys extra bonus level money.
My God, yeah. Or I'm going to have to put an explicit notice on this. Yeah, I was just curious because, going back to the WWE thing, sometimes superhero comics can get a little, same flavor after a while. And I don't know. I mean, do you like change when something does something way different? Or is that something you look for? Or is there a certain amount of comfort that just comes from it where you just kind of want, you sometimes just want that same flavor if it's done well?
Some change is good. I think it depends on when it happens and why it happens. I think one reason for it to happen is when you've got a team that goes on a significant run and leaves a certain type of flavor on the book, like the current Hulk run. You can't have the next team do anything even similar to that. You have to have them do something completely different. It looks like they're doing space or something now. But in instances like that, I think you have to have change because you just cannot try to duplicate something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be the one who is doing an impersonation of the previous one. I mean, it's like, Slott was on Spider-Man for like a million years, and he was always doing big change and big crazy stuff with him. And then Spencer came on and was kind of back to basics. And that, that kind of struck me as making sense. I mean, I eventually kind of ran off the rails on that one, but at the same time, like, it made sense as a practical decision. Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't want change for change's sake, but I definitely want something, like, I want superhero comics to have, this is going to sound weird, but maybe it's going to make sense to you. I want superhero comics to have a reason to exist, like a purpose. Like, I don't want them to just be like, this is a X-Men story. It's like, why is this the X-Men story you're telling? Does that make sense?
Yeah. X-Men's probably a bad example because I'll just read anything they tell me is an X-Men story.
Right. But I mean, it's just like, like, I really like Sword because Sword is like accomplishing a really specific objective. Or like Hellions is like the fuck up squad. And it's just like these ones who are kind of on the periphery. And like, I kind of like that. Like that gives it its specific flavor. I like the ones that kind of have like a specific goal and objective that they're trying to accomplish in terms of the story. It's like they need to be told because they're trying to tell a very specific story, as opposed to like, this is just, a bunch of different arcs in a row of people punching each other or something like that. Not that happens in the X-Men comics. There's not actually that much punching going on.
No, there really isn't. It's shocking
how little punching there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Spoiler alert for Loki for anyone who has not finished the Loki Disney Plus series. King, but not King, appeared on the show's finale. I forgot what it was, like the one above all or something like that. And his demise broke the timeline and effectively for real created the multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though it already existed because they talked about it in Doctor Strange, but this is like the time multiverse. Cool or not cool? You into it or not?
I'm way into it. I'm super duper into it. I think that's like the What If cartoon ties into that, obviously, and then I think it's going to lead into whatever's next. Like, I'm super duper into it. I think it's great. It opens so many possibilities.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think it's funny. I had mixed feelings about the Loki finale, but I really loved how it broke everything and kind of opened up all these possibilities. It'll be really interesting because like Amber was way out on it. And I don't know if people who are super into the Marvel Cinematic Universe but aren't super into like comics and stuff, I'll be interested to see how, because like time multiverse stuff is like drinking from the fire hose of comic stuff. That's like a next level. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But I mean, that King statue showing up at the end was so awesome. I love King. King is an amazing dude. Like he's like a really fascinating villain to me, especially with all the different flavors there are. So I'm really into that. And I am interested to see what they do with like Multiverse of Madness. And I haven't watched this week's What If yet, but I really enjoy it. Like the What If T'Challa became Star-Lord was so amazing. Did you watch that?
I did. Yep. I watched today's too. I won't say anything about it though.
Oh my God. I love the Star-Lord one. The Star-Lord one was so great, especially in the beginning where they just totally messed with like the beginning of Guardians where Korak or whatever. God, what is his name? Whatever, like Jaimin Hunsu's character, when he was just like, oh my God, it's Star-Lord. He was like so excited. And they did such a good job playing with expectations and just showing, well, I mean, amongst other things, that T'Challa is way, way better at being Star-Lord than Peter Quill was.
Yeah, it was sad though.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is definitely sad. But it was a nice like final thing. It kind of felt like, a nice final elevation of the character, especially with Chadwick Boseman doing him. Like I don't know, he just did such a good job. I thought everyone that voiced in that was really great. Like, Josh Brolin is Thanos again. Like he was really, I mean, he was still like pretty genocide obsessed, but I like that they even turned him. Like that was pretty great. I thought it gave a lot of the actors a little different flavor to play with their respective characters.
Yeah, and the idea they're going to do more of these seasons of What If too is exciting because there's a lot you could do with this, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to bring back the What If comics now.
What If comics are happening. They just did Spider-Man Spider's Shadow was a What If story. They just didn't call it What If whatever. It had a what if.
Okay. See, I read that. Was really good.
Yeah, it had a What If symbol on the back if you look at it. I actually just had Chip Zdarsky on the podcast who wrote that, and he just was like, if we called it like What If Spider-Man kept wearing the symbiote, like people like it would kind of be defined by that that name. It's like it doesn't need that name. It can still be a what if. You just don't have to name it that. And so it was just a way to kind of, rename it, rebrand it. Okay, next question. I'm interested in where you land on this, but do you think superhero event comics have lost all of their juice, or are they just in a lull? Or do you just love them?
I love them, but I can't remember the last one I absolutely loved.
That's the same thing for me.
It's been a while. Yeah. I think about it all the time because, like, we had, like, a nice little heyday there. I think of, like, Infinite Crisis and Civil War and stuff like that was awesome for a hot minute there. And then it did. I think it just got driven into the ground over and over and over. And now the meaning of them are just not, I don't know, it's not impactful anymore. But that also could be because we're old.
Yeah, we are extremely washed. But I do think, I mean, it's kind of like what I was saying about, what gets you excited about superhero comics. I think to a certain degree, part of the reason why events have been less exciting, at least in my opinion, is because they've become the norm. It's like they just publish them because they need to publish them. And there's no, like, Infinite Crisis happened that happened because the Max Lord thing happened, and then they had, like, the Rand Thanagar War, and they had all the other stuff, and it all crescendoed in Infinite Crisis. It was like a buildup for, like, so long. And most of the time, like, like Empire came out, and Empire, I mean, it had almost no buildup. And it's just like a thing that happens. And I feel like that's part of the problem is they haven't.
I think Terrence Howard was awesome in that show, though.
Good point. He was very good. Finally, he gets back into Marvel.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think they just don't really have a reason to exist right now beyond they make money. And I feel like they need more of a reason to exist than that.
So it kind of fits with what you're saying about continuity. Like, you want it to have a reason for existing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if, like, the whole point of Empire, or excuse me, the whole point of events is like this point where everything kind of comes together for one big story, like Crisis on Infinite Earths or Infinity Gauntlet or whatever. Annihilation, right? It's like it has to feel big. It has to feel like this is more than just another Avengers story or something like that. Because if you're not doing that, then why is this an event? Why isn't this just an arc in a comic, right?
I agree. Especially now that everything costs $5.
Right. I can't even remember the last event that I was super hyped on. And that's weird because I really love event comics.
I think mine were probably Power 10, House of 10.
Oh, yeah. Powers of X, House of 10. Or, oh my God, House of X, Powers of 10. I just inverted it. Bad. I mean, but is that an event? I think it is. I guess.
Felt like it was an event at the time.
Yeah, I think it probably is, technically. Yo, everybody. I want to take a quick second to talk about Macroverse. Macroverse is a next-gen mobile comics app, with its tap story format making comics feel totally native on mobile devices, which you can experience over 45 series and 400 episodes, with more launching all the time. It's a perfect time to try it out, too. Many of the most popular titles like Hex 11, Dead Town, Glitch, and more are free for a limited time only, so download the app for iOS or Android and binge away. Oh, and keep an eye out on macroverse.com for some major updates on new creators, new series, and new features that bring real collectability to digital comics in a new way. Massive things are coming. If you love making, reading, and or collecting comics, you won't want to miss what Macroverse is launching this summer. And now, back to the show. Anyways, okay, next question. Now, I'm going to simplify this one because this would be too long, but Scott Hazelwood asked us to rank publishers from most to least metal. So let's, instead of doing most to least metal, because there's a lot of publishers, who are the 3 most metal publishers in your mind?
Man.
Number 1 for me is heavy metal. That seems really obvious.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to hop on board with that as number 1.
Yeah. I do think it's funny. Like, didn't you just get like that death metal record for DC?
I did. Yeah, the DC soundtrack one.
Yeah.
But it's like not metal at all.
Really?
No, it's like Rise Against is on there, and who else is on there? Manchester Orchestra.
What?
Yeah.
Why would you do that if it's for a thing called death metal?
I mean, the music on there is pretty awesome, but none of it's really metal. I
Right.
mean, some of it's got a metal type feel to it,
The
but
cover is pretty
uh,
metal.
I would have to say DC's number two, just because they just did a whole metal event.
Yeah, that's true. They did two
They literally
metal events.
changed the big three into like metal characters.
Yeah. I want to my other one. I'm going to go agree with you on DC. The Vault. I don't know if you know anything about Vault, but Vault. I don't know why. I could see them being like metal, but that really specific type of indie metal where maybe just like instrumental metal, where it's just really heavy stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why I could see that. Like they're like God, I'm trying to think of an example. I'm like completely failing. But anyways, where it's not like Pantera or something like that, but it's more like thinking man's metal. That's what they're going for. Do you have another one?
I like it.
They're not really metal.
No.
There's not a lot of things that are super metal, but okay. Next question. Now this goes against the collector spirit, but for you, you're a big vinyl guy. You're a big comic guy. If you could have any comic and any record in vinyl, what would it be?
Any comic.
Mine's Incredible Hulk 181, and I don't have
Yeah,
a record player.
I was gonna say it'd probably have to be 181. To have that first Wolverine would be so sick.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my
so amazing.
That's my holy grail, and it's maintained for my entire life.
Yeah. That would be one of those things if I weren't buying a huge chunk of the Red Sox with my $1 billion.
Oh my God, why did I not say that? Why did I say sports cards? What an idiot I am.
I'd buy a few of those just so I could roll around in them like Scrooge McDuck. Oh my God, it would be amazing.
Just like make a blanket out of them and sleep with it.
Yes, just a 181 quilt.
Would they be graded or ungraded? Because I don't think an ungraded quilt would be, or a graded quilt would be very comfortable.
Oh man, it'd be the most comfortable one ever watching people cry.
Oh my God, people would be so mad at you if they found out that
Oh
happened.
man, I'd go full heel.
We'll get dueling quilts, and we can like have sleepovers together and like post pictures to Instagram where people cuss us out.
Yes. And then record is my holy grail, my in search of is Alkaline Trio's Good Morning.
Just is there a specific version or just that period?
I would take any version of that at possible. The cheapest I've seen of it is like $120. So
Damn.
I would take any version of that under $100.
Is it rare or is it like you're just trying to find it in the wild?
It's rare just because there's only so many made of each pressing.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a site called Discogs you can go on to and you can look up, prices of stuff. People can sell their stuff. So you can kind of gauge what you can get it for. And most of like the cheapest one I've seen there is like $120. And that's without shipping and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's a good album. And I know you're a big Alkaline Trio person. So if I ever see it, I will try to buy it for you. As long as it's not like $1 billion.
Yeah. The rationale in my head, though, is that album came out in 2003. So in 2 years, it'll be the 20-year anniversary. And I'm sure they'll, at the very least, do a new pressing for it then.
So you'd be fine with just getting a new pressing?
Yeah, 100%. I don't need it to be anything fancy. I just want it.
Yeah. That sounds good to me. Okay, next question. I'm curious on your thoughts. How was where do you put the most recent Suicide Squad movie in DC movies? Like the most recent DC movies? Top tier, mid tier, low tier?
I put it in top tier. It was pretty great. I liked it a lot. Did you see it?
I did. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the only problems I had were like unnecessary bird violence, where like they burned down, like spoiler alert for the Suicide Squad, but where like the general dude like lit all the parrots on fire. I was just like, why is this happening? Like this character doesn't.
Somewhere Mike Tyson was pissed.
Oh my God, Mike Tyson's gonna beat the shit out of them after they just got killed by Starro. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But anyways, he would be because he's a bird defender. But anyways, yeah. That besides that though, I mean, I loved Ratcatcher. And I loved
Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man was great. I really loved King Shark also, but Sebastian and Ratcatcher were, I don't know. I had no personal connection to Ratcatcher before then, and I'm just a gigantic Ratcatcher fan. Or excuse me, Ratcatcher 2. And
yeah.
the moment when like her dad showed up was such a touching moment, and the fact it was Taika Waititi made it even better. I just love that. That was so great. And I don't know. I thought John Cena was really funny in it. He was really good as Peacemaker. I thought it was really well done. It was a very entertaining movie. And plus, Starro was super awesome.
And it wasn't 4 hours long.
Oh my God, it wasn't 4 hours long. That is huge. I still have not watched the Snyder Cut.
I have, but I couldn't tell you what I saw because half of it I was dozing out. It was too long.
Yeah. I don't need to see that. I know people will say that it's a completely different movie, but I don't need to see any iteration of that movie again.
It's definitely a different movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, it has to be. It's like an hour and 40 minutes longer than the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, David Kelly, fellow Suns fan, asked if you could change anything about the Suns season in terms of moves, what would it be? Also, what do you think about the moves so far this offseason? He also asked, why will the Suns sweep the Pacers matchup next season? But this podcast is not about lies, so we're not going to talk about that.
Get out the brooms.
If you could change anything about, Suns in 4. If you could change anything about the Suns season, what would it be? And what do you think of the moves? What do you got?
If I could change anything, it would be that we lost in the finals.
I would think that the move would be, I mean, you guys were way too thin with your bigs. Like, I feel like you should have got somebody. I mean, the fact...
Got McGee.
Well, no, I think he was talking about from the past season. Like,
yeah.
Because you had Dario, and then he got hurt. And then you had Frank Kaminsky, who didn't really do much. JaVale McGee is actually a really good pickup for you guys. I mean, he's going to be a lob god with CP3.
Yep. And we needed that coming off the bench. Without like a Dario Sarge, we got exposed.
Well, I don't know how any Suns fan could be unhappy with this season, the off season, because you got you re-signed Campaign for like nothing, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And you lost Torrey Craig to the Pacers because, I mean, who wouldn't want to go to the Pacers? But, I mean, you didn't lose anybody else really important, and you're going to have, I don't know, you guys got good depth. And you traded for Landry Shamet, right?
Shamet, yeah.
I like
Shamet. He's a good addition for the team, too.
Yeah, he's a great shooter. I mean, he's not bad with the ball either. I don't know. It's good offseason, man.
Yeah, I think we're doing well. In James Jones, I trust.
Yeah. Next question, Dave Boozing from Comic Book Herald asked, who is the CP3 of comic characters?
Ooh, let's see. So we would need a savvy vet who can dish it out, but yet hasn't gotten it done yet. No, I'm just kidding. That was rough.
I mean, it's true. Everything you just said is true.
Oh,
my pick's Professor X.
Professor X, yeah.
I'm coming for Professor X a lot today, but I mean, he's obviously a savvy veteran because he's a senior citizen. Huge. Is he technically a senior citizen anymore? He's old. Let's just say that. So he's old, just like CP3. He's all about making.
CP3's like our age.
I know. Well, he's like NBA old, man. You know what I'm saying. Anyways,
I do.
He's like NBA deceased, basically.
Yeah.
So, like CP3, Professor X is all about making the young folk and his teammates better in theory, but he's also not completely against doing really horrible things to do it. Like, I don't know, I presume CP3 probably berates his teammates every once in a while. And there was that whole thing where Professor X had all the Deadly Genesis people killed, basically, right? So, wins and losses. I'm not saying CP3 had a class of, Hornets or Clippers players killed or something.
What are you trying to say here?
I know this might be coming across more as CP3 slander than I mean. It's more like Professor X slander. And also, I think that they're both really good at shooting jump shots from the elbow.
See, I was going to go something like Captain America throwing the shield like passes.
Really?
Yeah, but I like yours better.
I don't think, Captain America's too nice.
CP3's a very nice man, I'm sure.
You used to hate CP3.
Oh, man, I don't know what you're talking about.
Next thing you know, you're going to be defending Robin Lopez, and I wouldn't even know you anymore.
Oh, no, there's no defending Robin Lopez.
I love Robin Lopez. Robin Lopez, come on off panel.
Yeah, with me.
I actually had somebody reach out through the Bucks for me to see if he'd come on the podcast. It was during the playoffs last year, and it did not work.
No, that sucks. That'd have been awesome.
Yeah, that's too bad. And I could have been like, my friend Brandon hates you. And he'd be like, what? Who's Brandon?
I hate him. I just disrespect him greatly.
There you go.
No,
there you go. I do think Professor X is a good pick. There's probably somebody else out there. I mean, it's got to be somebody who achieves greatness, but
He could
doesn't.
be like Cable because
Man, you're really
he's a
going old route.
grizzled old vet. Can't quite get it done with Apocalypse.
His limbs are not entirely his own anymore.
Has an evil twin just like Cliff Paul.
But Cliff Paul's good, right? He's like the nice one, right?
I don't think so. I don't trust that man at all.
Yeah. I could see Cable doing insurance commercials.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Your cable TV.
Yeah. He also has taken young people under his wing, Hope versus the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker is Hope in this case.
Carrying Devin Booker around on his chest with a gun.
And then all of a sudden, Devin Booker becomes old and their teammates. And by old, I mean like...
get somebody to draw that.
Oh my God. I'm going to get you a commission made for Christmas this year that's going to be CP3 with like his eye glowing and like a little baby Booker and a baby Bjorn in front of him. And he says, body slide by 2 to the finals.
Yes! That'd be the most epic thing ever. I would hang that right up on my wall.
Oh my God. I'm going to find a way to make this happen.
That'd go right next to my Nick Pitara maggot.
Oh, I love it. Perfect. Next question. Excluding maggot, what comic character do you most want to see in a movie or TV show? And not even necessarily as the subject of said a movie or TV show. It can just be as a side character or something.
Oh, aside from maggot, that's rough. Mojo.
Oh my
Definitely
God.
Mojo.
I mean,
I want Mojo in a movie.
Mojo was in the X-Men animated series. Like, do you not count that? You just like new ones?
I want new stuff with Mojo. I want like a X-Men movie with like a kind of like a Saw vibe with him and like, yeah, something creepy, something scary.
You know what would be really wild? A Disney Plus show that was a like Tales from the Crypt style show about the X-Men hosted by Mojo.
Yes, 1000%.
I think that was a really good idea I just came up with.
Dude, that's a solid idea. Don't share this.
That is literally the point of this podcast. So would you want like a practical effects Mojo where you can like did you ever see the stuff with Diego Luna I think it's Diego Luna where he's like obsessed with Jabba and he just feels like he would feel nice and he wants to like rub on him and stuff like that? No. The dude from Rogue One, he every interview he's always like, I love Jabba. It's really amazing. I'm just imagining you like wanting to just go and like touch the puppet Mojo. Would you go CGI or would you rather go like puppet or something?
I'd want to do like a mix because I'd want him to look like he was just sweating green goo constantly. Just a smelly, sweaty, fat creature.
No, he'd be so disgusting. Mojo is just really gross.
With his eyes all peeled open.
Who's grosser, Mojo or Extinction Agenda Cameron Hodge?
Oh, Mojo.
Man, Cameron Hodge used to creep me out. He was so gross.
Yeah, he is gross though too.
Yeah, like especially in the X Factor issues because I never loved the art in those because I was always like Jim Lee is amazing and then Rob Liefeld's pretty good and then this third guy I'm like no, I'm not into this at all. And like he would draw Cameron Hodge and I was like this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, next question. We have one more basketball question, I think. Bradley Rader, who is apparently, I think, a Sixers fan, wants to know what our Ben Simmons takes are. Let's make it specific. He didn't give me anything specific. He just wants Ben Simmons takes. Do you think the Sixers should trade him or no?
I would. I'd want you to get rid of him. You
just
can't have your best player like... What's that?
Just because he can't shoot?
Yeah, he's your superstar. He's one of your superstar players and he can't shoot. Like, pay me a bunch of money. I can't shoot either.
I think the real problem is when it gets down to it and it's like the going gets tough. He not only can he not shoot, he just doesn't shoot. It's weird.
Right.
Yeah.
He just gives it up.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough because it's like, how are you going to get like for like talent? Like you could trade him for like CJ McCollum, but is CJ McCollum going to help them win the title? I don't know. Like CJ McCollum is like a good player, but he's not a great player. Ben Simmons has great player characteristics besides the fact that he literally will not shoot the basketball at the end of playoff games. And that's a problem.
That's a huge problem.
Okay. I would trade him too. I'm going to skip that one because that's too close to the end of the year stuff. Let's see. What do we got here? Jonathan Hickman is officially leaving the X-Men line at the end of Inferno. I don't know if you saw that. Does that diminish your enthusiasm for the line, or are you fine with him leaving?
Um, it kind of diminishes my excitement to a degree just because I was made to believe that there was this big overarching plan. And if he's bailing, I don't trust Marvel on its own to keep up that plan. I think when you've got like a gatekeeper like him to make sure that it happens, that's one thing. But if he's not going to be a part of the line, like I just can't imagine it's going to turn out the way it was supposed to. And that just, I don't know, without a plan, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. I mean, he said that he has helped them plan out everything that's next. They're doing it, but he's given his input on it and everything. And I think they know his stuff. The comparison I made is he's George R. R. Martin, and the people who are going to, make the rest of the story happen are basically like the people who make Game of Thrones, where they're working off of his ideas to a certain degree. Who knows if that's going to be executed as well as it would have without him. I don't know. It's an interesting what if though, right? Because it's like, what if Jonathan Hickman stayed? I don't know if we're ever going to get to know what that story is going to look like. And I mean, I think that's going to still be
He'll
good.
tell us on his Substack.
He will tell. I think he already has said stuff, but I do think
Damn it, it's not a funny joke then if he's already doing it.
I know, right? I do think it's weird. It's like, I think the comics will still be good, but it's just kind of a bummer because it's just a what if now.
Yeah.
But I think the Inferno stuff is going to get into Moira and everything. So I'm glad that we're at least going to get into some Moira stuff before he goes.
Yeah, for sure. Because otherwise it feels like a giant cop-out on the Moira stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, as long as they get to it and it's like kind of in the vein of what the original plan. I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting because like stories change, they evolve, everything like that. But God, House and Powers was so great. It's just kind of, you just kind of want that payoff, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to close with a big thing that I said previously that we were going to do. It's not really a question so much as a scenario. So in sports, for listeners that don't know, every once in a while, there will be new teams. It's an expansion draft. And those new teams can draft players from existing teams to make their own teams. And you're allowed to protect some players. So in this situation, Brandon and I are both starting our own superhero publishers. And like with sports expansion drafts, some picks can be protected. So Brandon, for this scenario, DC, they can protect Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. For Marvel, they protect Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Iron Man. Like, I don't even know. Like, Spider-Man's the only obvious pick.
Miles Morales?
Yeah, I mean, like, but then do you protect multiple Spider-Men? I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, so let's just say Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Iron Man. So we each get to pick 10 superheroes for our respective universes, with the goal being we want to sell comics. We're going to go snake draft. You get the first pick. Who do you pick first in the superhero expansion draft?
All right. If we're going to try to sell comics, then we got to go big. And if we can't go big three, then we go maggot.
You're kidding me.
No way, Jose.
Oh my God. You're making this too easy on me. You're going to be like the Vancouver Grizzlies. You're going to win 9 games.
But we're going to have a great fucking time doing it.
My picks 1 and 2 are from the same family, but they're dramatically different flavors. And I think they're the obvious picks. Maggot and Maggot. Just kidding. Miles Morales and Venom. And I cannot believe that I'm willfully choosing Venom in my top, but people love their Venom. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not a big Venom guy, but you know, more power to the Venom heads. Actually, I will say I did really actually enjoy the Venom movie. I don't. Tom Hardy was so insane in that movie.
I love and hate that movie. I've seen it twice now.
Yes.
And I can't tell if I love it or if I hate it. I honestly can't.
It's really stupid, but it's also amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely something I can put on in the background and just have going on while I work or something.
There's like scenes in it that are genuinely incredible, and then a lot of the movie is completely forgettable.
Mm-hmm. His accent, though, kills me.
Oh my God. And also the fact that he would literally be the worst journalist in the history of time.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, like, that guy is completely incompetent. The fact that he gets fired is not the amazing part about that movie. The fact that he had the job to begin with is the amazing part of that movie.
Yeah.
Who is your second and third pick?
Second and third pick. Okay, so for my second pick, I'm gonna go Cassandra Cain Batgirl.
I like it.
Because if I can't have Batman, I want that version of Batgirl to be the representative Bat figure. Because she's badass, and with the mouth sealed, sewn off, like No Man's Land style.
All right, who's your third?
Number 3 is gonna have to be Con-El Superboy.
Oh my God, you're going crazy favoritism. This is wild.
Yeah, man. This is the universe that I would want.
So you're AEW and I'm WWE. I'm just trying to get rich. Did I do that reference right?
Yeah, you did it pretty well.
All right. Okay, cool. My third pick's Harley Quinn because she makes the money happen. Also, I actually really enjoy Harley Quinn in the movies and occasionally enjoy her in the comics and really enjoying Batman the animated series. So there's a lot of pluses there. Okay, next, who would I go with? I'm gonna go with Nightwing. Dick Grayson. He in a pinch makes a great Batman. What's not to like? He can elevate. I think a Nightwing. I'm not watching. Is he in Titans? He's in Titans, right?
Yep, he's in there.
Is he good or is he the one that goes like fuck Batman or whatever in the first season?
No, he's good.
Okay.
It's not a terrible show. It's surprisingly not awful, but it's also not. It's like Venom.
I think you're selling me right now if you say it's like Venom.
Yeah.
I had a friend who doesn't read comics who asked me if I watch Titans. She's like, I love it. And I'm like, what? Okay, sure. Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. I'm not completely caught up on this season, but it's pretty good.
I didn't give a shout out. I love the Harley Quinn HBO Max show. Love it.
Oh, big time. Big time.
It's so good. So that's another reason to have Harley in there. Also, big props to King Shark. Big couple years for that dude.
No doubt. No doubt.
I love him in the Harley Quinn show too.
Yeah.
He's really funny. Maybe Sylvester Stallone's version was even funnier, but in a much different way. All right, what do you got for 4 and 5?
All right, so number 4, we're going to go Storm.
Okay, that's a good pick.
You need somebody regal to represent your universe. You need a goddess. And it's X-Men, which I can't deny I love. And number 5, I'm going to go the Joker.
Oh, that's a good pick. Arguably the real third part of the Trinity over, I don't know, Superman or Wonder Woman. He's very popular. Okay, well, if that's the case, we're going to have Black Panther as my 5th pick. I feel like there's a high ceiling there. I don't know if the comics don't really always sell, but I feel like there's a high ceiling there, and I don't think that they've approached it right. I would definitely take a different approach to my Black Panther comics than Marvel does all the time. I really like the Ta-Nehisi Coates run, but at the same time, it's just like, you got to be propping that stuff up in the book market. This is a big name seller. Like, make those collections pop, people. Come on, let's make it happen. Make some really nice collections for that. But anyways, I'll do that and I'll profit off of it. Okay, next one. God, who would I pick? Now I'm looking over my comics. I'm going to go Daredevil. I love Daredevil. And I feel like Daredevil has some level of history of success plus popularity. And also just like lots of good comics come out from that. So, I'm tapping into a long history of great comics.
I agree. The recent stuff has been phenomenal.
What do you got?
All right. Number 6 for me would be Green Lantern.
Which one?
Oh, man.
You're going to try to just do all of them.
Boy. I could do all of them, but if you want me to go selectively,
Guy Gardner.
I guess I'd go Guy Gardner for sure.
Yeah. That does seem like a pretty obvious pick. It's a good one. Does that make Booster Gold next?
Not yet, because he's not going anywhere.
He might be.
Maggie might have stolen. I don't know. Oh, man, I had my next one, and I just lost it entirely. Oh, Dupe.
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
Can you imagine the animated series you could make on Disney Plus? The toys you could sell?
It wouldn't be Disney
There's a
Plus anymore.
whole
It'd be
lot
Brandon
to
Plus.
do. Yeah, Brandon Plus. Oh my God, we'd be marketing that to kids and adults alike.
Dupe would be. Can you imagine all the secret jokes he could put in with Dupe Speak?
Oh man, with Dupe Speak, he'd be selling cannabis and kids would have no idea.
That's amazing. Dupe is a great pick.
21 and older kids.
Okay, let me give this. My next pick is the Flash, and you know which one I would pick because there's only one Flash for me, and that's Wally West. Yeah, I mean Barry Allen. I mean, do you know that? You know, it's really funny. Did you watch the Flash show on CW?
I did up until like probably the last 2 seasons or so.
Amber and I only watched the first 2 seasons, and we constantly make jokes about like Barry Allen going back to save his mom, and about how he's like the world's greatest monster for those shows. He just like he's like the villain. Like, how do they not know that? He destroys everything. It's like, oh, I made another selfish decision, and then like this person's dead when I came back. Like, what? Stop Barry Allen. And even in the comics, like Flashpoint, like he makes Flashpoint happen. He basically makes the New 52 happen. I mean, that dude is a monster.
He's a real son of a bitch.
He is a real son of a bitch. God, I'm really struggling. So I'm going to go with my maggot-esque pick. I'm going to pick Stiltman so I can tell my Stiltman story I've been waiting to tell my entire life.
Yes.
I actually have a very specific pitch, and I said it out loud, and I realized that I probably shouldn't because now somebody can take my idea and make it happen. It's too good.
Oh, man.
It's too
How
good.
How furious would you be?
I would not be furious because I would like to read that comic, and that's the main thing that I'm actually interested in. So I'm not really interested in making comics so much as I am interested in, reading this random comic about Stiltman and why he's a legacy character because it seems insane.
I like it.
All right, what's your next pick?
My next pick is Deadpool.
Oh, God. I can't believe he lasted this long.
Me either.
That is a really good pick.
Followed by Booster Gold.
Oh, there he is. There he is. And you got one pick to go. My next pick, I'm going to go with... I think I'm going to go with Batgirl, and I'm going to go with Barbara Gordon. I feel like she never really, has gotten... Like, she's great in, the Birds of Prey comics and everything, and I love her as Oracle, and she's gotten some good Batgirl stuff, but I feel like there's untapped potential there, and I feel like I can be the person that can... hire the right team to make that happen. So I'm going to go with Batgirl. And then who are we going to finish? I have no X-Men characters. This seems really wrong. So my X-Men character I'm going to pick is Phantom X because I need a fake French person on my team. I like how it's become my team. This is actually my lineup. I love how I was like, you got to pick the people who are going to sell. And I'm like, I'm going to take Stiltman and Phantom X.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
This evolved very quickly.
It did. Well, you got to have all varieties. Who's your last pick?
My last pick is Orphan / Mr. Sensitive from Ecstatics.
I love that. So are you going to have kind of you're just going to bring Peter Milligan and Mike Allred back and just get them to do some Orphan stuff?
Yes. Anything they'll do. Anything they'll do.
I love it. I mean, we were supposed to get that. Wasn't there supposed to be an Ecstatics book? And then it just kind of disappeared?
Just never happened.
Yeah, that'll happen. I mean, I think the pandemic was to blame, but I don't really know that for sure. But I like your picks. I mean, they're very Brandon. But, I mean, honestly, it's like, if you're going to do superhero stuff, you might as well do the ones that you're the most passionate about, and you can make other people passionate about it. Plus, you got Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool's going to sell books for you.
Well, I think I've got a nice little comedic feel for my universe here. I mean, outside of dark-ass Batgirl and Storm, maybe. I got Joker, Guy Gardner, Duke, Deadpool, Booster Gold, and Mr. Sensitive, and Maggot.
Would your comic universe be a shared universe, or would they just be individual stories?
It would start out individual stories, and then eventually we'd find a way to connect over, because you'd have to do a Deadpool and Duke for sure.
So you'd MCU it, where you have the solo ones first, and then it forms the team, kind of?
Yeah, and not all of them would ever have to cross over.
Yeah, that would be a pretty messed up team.
Yeah, that'd be one wild ass team.
I don't know. I kind of wonder if you started, let's say that somehow somebody created a new superhero universe. Would they need, or that was actually successful? Do you think it would have to be a shared universe? Do you think a shared universe is an essential element of a superhero universe?
I don't think it is. I think it feels like it has to be right now, but I think DC's shown that they made it seem like it was, but then it really only hurt them in the end because they just couldn't live up to the Marvel level.
Yeah. Like they just kind of forced it and it just didn't work. And now that they're doing stuff that's random, like the Batman movie that's coming and the Suicide Squad, that are just kind of their own thing. I will say one thing I really liked about the Suicide Squad was how they basically didn't reference the previous movie, but they kind of did. Like they had Harley knowing Boomerang. And so like she nodded and like, so they had that relationship and she had a relationship with Rick Flag. And so that's the type of continuity I would want in my universe, where it's just like everyone kind of knows each other, but they don't have to spend a lot of time with each other.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it. That's the entire bucket of things. Brandon, that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for coming on to Fantasy Expansion Draft, the, varying superheroes, and talk about the Phoenix Suns and Professor X being a monster and everything else. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, always happy to dig at fresh wounds that are the Phoenix Suns.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Off Panel with my pal Brandon Burpee. You can find him on Instagram at VinylBurpee. Love Off Panel, want to support it? Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts today and give the show a rating or review while you're at it, but 5 stars only. You can also support the show by backing it on Patreon. Find the show at patreon.com/offpanel, and when you back it on there, you get early access to each week's podcast, as well as weekly content and more. Want even more? Subscribe to my subscription comic site Sketched at sketch.com for long-form articles, interviews, and the rest of the site's content, and its members-only forum. You can find Off Panel and Sketched on social media by liking on Facebook at /Sketched. That's SKTCHD. Follow on Twitter and Instagram at @SketchComic or following me at @SliceFriedGold. Big thanks to all my existing patrons, including Raj Patel, Brian, Submed Industries, Jack Mulqueen, Kyle, Carl Kerschel, Robert Masella, Elza Chartier, Luke Nakashoji, Elliot Metz, Dr. Luke, Scott Hazelwood, Scott Buon, Michael Tunk, Canadian by Proxy, Johnny Cannon, Bradley Rader, Carl Troy, Megan Marsden, Brandon DePillis, Patrick Brower, Declan Shalvey, Dan Garino, Josh Williamson, Adam Freeman, Ben Wild, Brian Klein Q, SB, Nick Bennett, Daniel Whitfield, Susanna Pollard, Reed Hinkley Barnes, Mario Tiambeg, AbductedTheComic.com, Andrew Carita, Matt Mahoney, Charlie Chu, Stephen Hall, Pensacola Pop Comics, Kim Eslin, Philip Myra, Christian Shelton, Kenny Porter, Chris Pacello, Torrin Grunbeck, Fuzzbubbles, Christopher Todd, Transmitter Down, Waltz Comics and Books, Carl Mizell, Danny Ollie, Paul Salates, Akil Wilson, Alex Dimitriopoulos, Terry Dodson, Liana Kingas, Wesley Giff, Sean Kirkham, Alistair Ross, Julio Anta, Brett A. Schmidt, Jason Goodmanson, Paul Reinwant, Vita Ayala, Tara Ferguson, Dave Slusher, WQ Comics, Akil Kokachi, Sean Pinello, Ken Heidelman, Philip Seavey, Al Ewing, Ryan Alcock, David Kelly, Robert Wilson IV, Nick Polito, Brendan Fletcher, Jonathan Nilsson, Matthew Groom, Jason Massey, Adam Bogert, Matthew Taylor, Nick Patera, Jacob Sorelli, Ford Gilmore, David Baraldi, Nick Hall, Bjorn Basin, John Hendricks, Steve Anderson, Ian Maxwell, Cliff Chang, Colin McMahon, Chris Palmer, Scott McGovern, Nathan Fairbairn, Kat McKenzie, Adam Highfield, Fiona Staples, Mark Abnett, Mike Murphy, Michael Shirley, Tom Barnett, Jim Demonakos, Norbert, Nick Lowe, James Kaplan, and Mission Comics and Art in San Francisco. You guys are all the best. A quick thanks to Upright T-Rex Music, who wrote and performed Off Panel's theme song just for the show. Check out their music on Spotify because it's completely delightful. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for another episode.